The conversation which has been going on around restructuring in the country. And joining us to discuss that now is Mr. Gowon, who is the National President, Federation of Middle Belt People. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, I'm sure you must be following the conversation around the country.
Very well.
What are your thoughts? I'm sure your thoughts this morning would also represent the thoughts of your association. Is that right?
Very well.
Or are you going to be speaking in your personal capacity?
I'm speaking for the Federation.
You're speaking for the Federation now. So tell us, what are the thoughts of the Federation of Middle Belt People, the association which you represent, on restructuring?
It is our belief as Middle Beltans that there is need to devolve power to the state because there's so much power at the center. And it is part of the reason why some governors have no idea on how to run their state.
They don't have any idea, but I mean, right now you can see just how hot the contest is for the governorship in Anambra State.
Yes.
You say that that's why they have no idea, and they campaign vigorously to get into power.
Yeah, they campaign. Sorry. But the question is, how many of these governors are able to run the state on their own without coming to Abuja cap in hand for federal allocation?
So how does evolution of power help them then?
It helps a great deal. Virtually all the states of the Federation of Nigeria have or are blessed with one resources or the other. I mean, mineral resources. Like Kogi, where I come from, we have so many of them deposited. But as a businessman or entrepreneur, if you want to go into exploring those things, you have to come to Abuja. It takes a lot of procedures for you to even obtain license. So, but if the state are empowered on their own, then all these equivalents will be removed automatically. So there's so much power at the center. If the state if the state are allowed to do it, then it now becomes on the citizen to know who they vote for. Oh, this man has an idea. He has run this business for years. He's been able to do this. He's been able to do that. But today, governors have excuse why they cannot even perform.
Some people say that that's no excuse. I mean, we know that the federal government, yes, you know, there's this nebulous thing in the Constitution that says all resources under the ground belong to the federal government. But the federal government doesn't go directly to dig the resources. The federal government has been able to partner up with companies that dig up these resources, and the federal government owns shares in the companies that do it. And people have asked, what is stopping the state governments from doing things like that? You know, from getting those companies, owning shares in them, going to the federal government, getting the licenses, and being able to profit from whatever is mined from their states.
I have just told you that it takes a lot of time to obtain these licenses.
Yes, but if the states have been trying since the states were created, shouldn't we have some results by now?
An elected governor, for instance, spent how many years in office? 4. If you are lucky, if you do well, if people like you, you could be brought back. Maybe for second term, that is 8 years.
So in the last, I mean, sometimes people say that you don't just plan for your tenure, you plan long term. It's supposed to be a broad, big plan. So we've been in the, let's even discountenance the years of autocratic rule. Let's start talking about since 1999 when Nigeria returned to a democratic dispensation, assuming these companies were formed then. Don't you think that by now the state shouldn't be crying as loudly as they're crying?
To answer this question, we have to go back a little bit of memory lane. Nigeria have experienced this before. In the 60s, we have regional government. And the premiers of those regions were able to do something more laudable than what we witness today, when power is centered, concentrated at the center.
That power, the power which a lot of people talk about, was shown much more in agriculture. And the power around agriculture has not been taken away from the states. So why do you think the states have become, you know, not as hardworking in the area of agriculture as they ought to be?
Agriculture is not the only thing we could do. I've just told you about the mineral resources.
Yes,
deposited on our land.
Yes, but then agriculture was the mainstay.
Yes. Agriculture was the mainstay. But agriculture was the mainstay. Today, federal government even go as far as supplying fertilizers. I'm sure you are aware of that. To farmers. I'm into farming too. So I know what it takes to get fertilizer in Nigeria of today.
Do you get fertilizers from the federal government or your state government?
the federal government, most of the state got it from the federal. It's through counterpart funding, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, supply fertilizer to the state, then the state to local government. You see the protocol.
So for you now, for your federation, you are asking that more powers be devolved to the states.
To the states.
What powers are you looking to see devolved to the states?
One, the economic power, and even political power.
By economic power, what do you mean?
What I mean by economic power, I've just told you about how our governors come to Abuja cap in hand to take federal allocation. If the power is devolved, if the governors, I mean state, not regional this time, because I will not support that we go back to regional, because we fought to have state, even though as an Igala man, what we wanted was Okura state, not really Kogi state. But a section of Igalas went for Kogi and they got it. So the question, what I want to say here is that if the state have these powers without necessarily coming to Abuja, yes, they could give maybe some percentage of their income to the center so that the government at the center can function financially. But federal government can still take care of issues like economic, foreign affairs, and defense.
So in your states now,
Yes.
you believe that if, for instance, economic powers are devolved to the states,
Yes.
states will be in charge of their resources,
Yes.
which they are currently not in charge of.
Yes.
So you believe that the conversation around restructuring
Yes.
is all about resource control.
That is part of it. Number one, if the state are in charge, citizens will really be able to ask questions. But today, governors, even those, as I said earlier, who have no idea on how to run their state, now give excuses. Oh, we want to do this. We are not allowed to do. I told you, Ajakuta Steel Company is there in Kogi State. Why is it not functioning? If states are allowed to manage their resources, we can call the governor. Why is Ajakuta left moribund? Because I tell you, if Ajakuta is functioning today, it will engage a lot of youth or a lot of people. And Ajakuta too will give birth to a lot of micro companies, over 200 of them.
You're looking at the experience of Kogi State alone.
That is just one of the lot.
Yes, but some people will point to the fact that other states have other industries. We hear about the industries that a lot of states have owned in the past, and all of them are now
Like what
moribund.
state?
I mean, they talk about how some states used to own cement companies,
Yes.
used to own breweries,
Yes.
used to own textile firms, and all of them.
How much of percentage do they
dead.
control? Even when they use the name, they have the name.
Is that important?
Plateau State, for instance, over the years, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, up to early 80s, you are aware of the thing, deputy in Plateau State. How much of that did the citizens of Plateau State benefited? And go to Plateau State today and see what people are going through. But if the governors who have mounted or who have ruled this state at one time or the other were fully in charge, they could be called to account. What did you do when you were there? Or now that you are here, what are you doing with the resources available to you to better the lives of your people?